This is shocking. Work was completed.
I'm well aware that what I'm about to say could get me in a lot of trouble, but I think it's important enough to say. I'm a labor and delivery nurse, and I treat my Black patients differently. I've seen nurses, especially labor and delivery nurses, online saying things like, "I'm colorblind, I don't treat my patients any differently," meaning that they don't treat their Black patients worse than they treat their white patients. And here's why it's not enough to be a colorblind nurse in 2023. Because I know that in my specialty, labor and delivery, Black women are more likely than any other race to be harmed in pregnancy, childbirth, and beyond. The US is the worst place to have a baby if you're Black in the developed world. Why is this not happening anywhere else? Systemic racism. If you don't believe me, just Google James Marion Sims. So not only are Black women not believed about their pain, not believed about their symptoms, but also they may put off getting something checked out because they don't trust medical providers for good reason. So here's how I treat my Black patients differently. Number one, I don't expect them to inherently trust me because I'm wearing scrubs and a badge, and I don't get offended if they don't. Many Black women are coming in to have a baby already having experiences of not being listened to. And until I'm able to prove to them that I'm someone that can be trusted, they shouldn't trust me. More than my white patients, I emphasize the fact that I will always believe them. Yes, my white patients know also that I will believe them, but I really, really drive it home that I promise you that I'm going to believe everything they say. I include every single person in the room who is supporting this patient in a conversation about preeclampsia, even if they don't have it. Because preeclampsia is one of the leading causes of maternal mortality in the United States. And preeclampsia can happen even after you've had your baby. I tell them about the symptoms, and I also tell the support people that if you hear her saying any of these things, make sure that she gets seen. And if when she gets seen, you don't feel like she's being listened to, go somewhere else. I let them know that I'm here to be their birth bouncer, that I'm not going to let anyone do anything to them, only for them and their baby with their permission. I can neither confirm nor deny whether I have slapped a provider's hand away when the patient said no. I don't know anything about that. I have no hard data to back this up, but I have a hypothesis that Black women are not being repositioned in labor as much as white women. So my patients know, and I will say this, that I'm going to turn you like a rotisserie chicken because movement is gold in labor, especially after you have an epidural. If when we have a baby, I don't like the amount of bleeding that I'm seeing, I am early talking to that provider about, hey, what do you think about maybe giving a little bit of Cytotec? What do you think about putting in a Jada? Because postpartum hemorrhage is the leading cause of maternal death. I will always use whatever privilege I have to make sure that my patients are heard. That's why it's so important to treat your Black patients differently. And if you're a colorblind nurse, you're part of the problem.
Story time on how racism is systematic. I'm pregnant. I'm a Black woman. I go into labor with my baby. They tell me what's going to happen. Baby comes, baby's premature. I breastfeed my children. Shocking, right? Because apparently Black women don't do that. But here's what I will tell you. This is where the systematic racism comes into play. Not being called the N-word, but literal systematic racism. They come in and tell me, we cannot give your daughter your breast milk because we found drugs in your system. I say, well, that's impossible because I don't do drugs. They say it was marijuana. I say that is also impossible because I don't smoke marijuana. They say, well, we found it in your milk and we cannot give her your milk. We're going to give her this formula. We need you to sign a paper for this formula we're going to give her. I say, fresh out of surgery, might I add, C-section, having these conversations. Daughter is 1 pound. I'm stressed out. They're telling me I'm a drug addict. Don't do drugs. So they then come in, a bunch of white women come in and say, well, do you eat lemon poppy seed? No, I don't. Actually, I'm actually vegan and I don't do any drugs. They then say, well, maybe your neighbors gave you some brownies. Maybe your neighbors made some brownies and it had weed in it and you didn't know. I say, I live in a community of people who don't make weed brownies. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, over 2,000 square feet, 2-car garage. I don't smoke marijuana or eat marijuana brownies. They say, well, we found it in there. I said it couldn't be mine. So now I am fresh out of surgery from being cut open on my stomach, being told by all of these white women that I live in a community that makes brownies and drugs me, right? Like I'm being drugged by my neighbors unknowingly, and I'm also doing drugs while pregnant. This is all being told to me fresh out of being cut open with a child that's 1 pound, don't know if she's gonna survive. No medical care or attention. It took for the hospital, the president of the hospital, to be called, demanding to retest my milk or there's going to be a lawsuit. I am post-surgery, guys. Not even 2 hours, let alone 12, okay? I'm post-surgery and I have to advocate for my child, my black daughter, to drink her black mother's breast milk because I'm being gaslit this whole time so that and here's the kicker. What actually happened is they wanted to test a formula out on my daughter. And if you don't know this, trials and tests and studies are done a lot on black babies because unknowingly they think that black people are uneducated and they get you in a state where you are in survival mode and you don't take a second to pause and think and make an informed decision. So they thought the likelihood of me being a black woman and smoking weed while pregnant was high based on statistics. Well, guess what? They tested my milk and the demand was you need to retest the same milk. You need to retest it. And guess what? There was no marijuana. And my daughter got to drink breast milk. I'm saying all that to say, when we think about systematic oppression, we do not understand how deep it runs. We do not understand that there is a literal attack on a black woman, especially when she's in medical care. So I don't want to hear all of this talking. And this is why I'm very loud when I say lower your tone. I'm not talking about you denying me or calling me the N-word. I'm saying that you are actively sit in a system that works against my people. And I'm not going to shut up about it because I know what it means to be systematically oppressed, experience systematic racism. Less than 2 hours after being cut open and having a baby that's 1 pound. I know that. And I have stories like that for days. So all of this yapping about it was old, slavery was this. Slavery is not the only issue that black Americans went through in this country. Okay? We know the date slavery started and the day it ended. And it hasn't stopped white people from being systematically oppressive towards my people. So I don't want to hear it. Okay? Lower your tone. I'm always going to be nervous when Caucasians are afoot. That's just me. I have a podcast, so if you like that story, make sure you go click the link in my bio and check it out. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to me too. Spotify, Apple, Google, Danielle to you, everywhere you could think of, okay?
If you are someone who takes care of human beings in a healthcare environment, I need you to listen the hell up. I just watched another video of a black woman being dismissed in active labor and having a baby 8 minutes later. It is disgusting to watch, but finally, people are paying attention. This is an article that was written 2.5 years ago. I talked about how if you are a nurse who says shit like, I'm colorblind, I don't see color, I treat all my patients equally, that you are part of the problem. You are actively contributing to harm because your passive silence is active violence. So you might not be the nurse that does the side eye to a laboring black woman, but you won't be the person to speak up when something is wrong. You'll be the nurse just following doctor's orders, just pushing the patient to the car. But if you are the kind of nurse who cannot recognize that a patient's skin color, one of the most obvious things about them, puts them at a 3 times greater risk of death, what are we doing? I'm going to explain to you why equality should never be a goal in healthcare. Our goal should be equity. I'm going to use a photo that's often used to explain this, but I'm going to explain why it doesn't work on our scenario and give you a better example. So this is what equity means, okay? We're not giving everyone the exact same thing, because giving everyone the exact same thing will still end with people having bad outcomes. We have to recognize the specific needs of our patient and give them exactly what they need to be successful, or to live, or to not be traumatized when they come into a hospital. Here's why this doesn't work when we're talking about Black women. This puts the problem or the onus within the body of that person. So I do presentations for nurses and talk about the importance of speaking up when it might feel scary to protect our patients from birth trauma, harm, or death. And in this presentation, I made this graphic, which shows 2 equally heighted women in 2 different environments in the same place. This woman's ancestors were enslaved women who were experimented on by a monster named James Marion Sims and called it gynecology, given procedures without anesthesia because they thought Black women could not feel pain. Even in my nursing books, in the culture section, it talked about how Black women have a higher pain tolerance. In order to improve outcomes for this patient, we have to either repair the ground underneath her or move her to a safer location. We have to change her environment. And when it comes to birth, there's a lot of well-meaning advocates who say, this is why you should have a home birth. No, that should never have to be the answer. We have to make birthing in a hospital while Black safer. And it starts by treating your Black patients differently. Stop being personally offended if they don't inherently trust you because you're wearing a badge and scrubs, because they've likely experienced mistreatment from someone who looks an awful lot like you. It's why my 9-year-old doesn't fuck with bees. He got stung by a bee, and even though there are going to be millions of bees who don't sting him, he will never trust a bee. And I don't blame him, because every bee has the opportunity to hurt him. We know that Black women are less likely to be listened to, so knowing that, how would you approach a patient who you knew was at a higher risk of not being listened to? Would you pull up a stool and hang on every word she says? Would you make a promise to listen to her? Would you echo her wants and desires louder to the other people on the care team? Would you act immediately if she says something is wrong? Or would you brush it off and say you're fine? But most importantly, are you willing to speak up against your coworkers, against people you may consider to be your friends, when something is not right? If even half of the healthcare workers in this country made a pact to never allow this type of behavior to exist in our orbit, we could make things better. But it counts on you holding up your end of the deal, to treat your Black patients differently, to never be silent in the face of injustice, and to always be on the lookout for ways that you can help your patients feel heard.
You know, it's interesting to me that in the wave of what's happening to Black women in hospital settings at the hands of white nurses, primarily white female nurses, there is a wave of white female nurses making posts in tears as if they didn't know this was happening, as if they're not the perpetrators of what happens to us in hospitals. Literally, if you look up the statistics, if you look at what the dissatisfaction rates of Black women and what made our births and our hospital experiences testy or stressful, it was white nurses and how they treated us. Who's there? The doctors are not there primarily. It's nurses, and it's mostly white female nurses who are mistreating and dismissing Black women. When I had my hospital birth that I wrote about, I was arguing with white nurses. There was not nary a Black nurse in that room. And anytime I attended a birth, when there was a Black nurse, that's when I could take a breath, when I could calm down as a doula and know that my client was going to be taken care of, because the care was different. And the only reason that my clients got the respect they got from the white nurses is because I was there. You know what I'm saying? I have walked in on white nurses trying to deliver Black women's babies with no medical professional, with no doctor present. I have had white nurses argue with me about why I was present in the room. It's white nurses, okay? And you're doing the very thing that we're saying you're doing in hospital settings when you get on these apps and cry over our tears about what's happening to us at your hands. You're doing the same thing that you do in the hospital. It's basically telling us that no, we're getting it wrong. You know, no, nurses are better than this. Our field is, it's not though. We're not experiencing these disparities because y'all doing better. Like, stop trying to gaslight us and stop crying over our tears. And for all the black people watching, do not let them fool you. Who we talking about right now is white nurses. It's not a system. The system ain't got hands and feet. The hands and feet of the system is the people in it. And it's white nurses. The system ain't doing nothing to us. How it's set up, yeah, sure, but who's perpetuating it? It's white female nurses. So if y'all really want to do something, do your job. Don't get on this app and act like you've never seen it before. You do your job so well. You have no colleagues who act like this. Stop it. And stop talking about a system as if it exists outside of the people who work in it. And that's you right now. We talking to you. Right now, black women are on the brink, on the cusp of just squaring up with white women. It's something that should have happened a long time ago. So go and get off the app. You know, keep that same energy. The energy that you had in the hospital when she said she was in pain and you was big and bad and you had something real nasty to say to her. Y'all Google it. White women say crazy shit to black women while they're in labor all the time. Tell them to stop crying. It don't hurt that bad. Stop screaming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I read this stuff all the time. So you can't fool me. You can fool somebody else. You can't fool me. I'm a doula. I'm a journalist. I do this. So y'all don't be fooled. They ain't sorry and they're not shocked. They're just trying to keep you from looking at them.
Before we begin, if you enjoy thoughtful conversation about healthcare, race, and the experience that shape people's life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section. Have you ever felt unheard or misunderstood in the healthcare settings? I would love to hear your perspective. Now let's get into it. Healthcare is built on trust. When someone walks into a hospital or clinic, they expect to be listened to, treated with respect, and given the best care possible. But some patients say that isn't always how they experience the system. What especially interesting is when healthcare workers themselves decide to speak up, whether it's about communication, unconscious bias, access to care, or the challenges patients face navigating the system. Their perspective can help start conversation that might otherwise never happen. The important thing is not to assume that every patient or every healthcare professional has the same experience. Individual stories don't represent everyone, but when similar concerns are raised by multiple people over time, it is reasonable to ask what can be improved. A strong healthcare system isn't just measured by medical technology or hospital ranking. It's also measured by whether every patient feel respected, heard, and confidence that they will receive fair treatment. Conversations like this aren't about blaming one group. They are about understanding different experience and looking for ways to build greater trust between patients and the people caring for them.